We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Vav Amud Beis Masechah Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 76b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara brought a statement of Rav Kahana, Mishum Rabbi Akiva, in the name of Rabbi Akiva, and the Gemara is now giving Abaya's interpretation of that statement. Hachi Kamar, this is what he was saying. Ezo Ani Rasha Aram. What is considered an Ani Rasha Aram, a poor, wicked, conniving person? Zahamasha Bito Bogeris. That's a person who delays marrying off his daughter who is an adult. Rashi explains, Hachikamar Eze Ani Rasha Aram Shebishvil Anias. What it means is, because of poverty, because the person needs money, Marshia, he acts in this wicked fashion. Zehamasha, this is a person who is delaying marrying off his daughter, and now she's an adult. The idea is that he doesn't want to hire a shifcha, he doesn't want to hire a maidservant, instead he wants to use his daughter. V'hachi Yitmar, it means as follows, Ein loch Ani Rasha Aram B'Yisrael, Elo Hamasha Bita Bogeris. You don't have an example of an Ani Rasha Aram among the Jewish people, except somebody who delays marrying off his daughter until she becomes an adult. And the Gemara continues, Rav Kahana Mishum Rabbi Akiva, and Rav Kahana says in the name of Rabbi Akiva, Have zoyer min hayoetz lafi darko. You should be careful if somebody's giving you advice that's really to his benefit. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, Hamasi as bita lezaken, if somebody marries off his daughter to an old man, Hamasi isha livno katan, or let's say somebody marries off a woman to a bino katan, to his son who is a minor, Hamachzir aveda lekusi, or let's say somebody returns a lost object to a non-Jew. About all of these situations, all of Hakasav Omer, about such a person, the pasuk says, Laman sefos harava es hatzemeya, that he adds those who are quenched to those who are thirsty, lo yova Hashem sloach lo, and Hashem will not forgive him. And Rashi explains, Laman Sfos Lachbor Kamosafu Shana Al Shana, it means to attach, to add on. Rava Es Hatzemeya, the person who is satiated, the person who is quenched, to the person who is thirsty, means Sava B'davar Imtzamel Davar. You're taking somebody who's satisfied and adding that to someone who's thirsty, meaning Zakin V'yal Dazos. For example, you're taking an old man, the old man does not care for having relationships, but the young girl does, and so therefore that's a bad thing to marry off his daughter to this old man. Tzmeya l'tashmish, because the young girl is tzmeya l'tashmish. She's thirsty for relations. V'zaken, and the old man, saveh, he's satisfied. V'chein gedola l'katan, the same thing is true. Let's say the girl is an adult, but the person who she is marrying is a katan, is a minor. It's going to be the same problem. And similarly, v'hamachzer aveda l'kusi. Let's say somebody returns a lost object to a non-Jew. Hishve v'chiber kusi l'Yisrael. He goes ahead and he equates this non-Jew to the Jew. Umara ba'atzmo sha'ashavas aveda ina chashuvalo mitzvahs boro, and he's showing that the mitzvahs hashavas aveda is not. He doesn't view that as a commandment from the Creator. Sha'af l'kusi hosakein. He does that to everybody, even the non-Jew. Shalom nitztava aleihem, where there was no such commandment, and so therefore there as well, Rava, you're talking about the Rava esatzmeya, the one who's satiated with the one who's thirsty. Ovdei kochavim shesveim ve'inon tzmeyin liyosram, means non-Jews, they're satisfied, they're not thirsty for the Creator. Tzmeya zu knesses Yisrael, and the tzmeya is a reference to Klal Yisrael. Shetzmeyo te'iva liyiras yotzer l'kayim mitzvosa, because they are thirsty and they desire to fear the Creator and to fulfill His mitzvos. And the Gemara continues, Meisvei, we have a question on this from the following Braisa, Ha'oeves ishto kagufo. It says, if somebody loves his wife like himself, V'hamachabda yoser migufo, he respects her more than himself, V'hamadrich bonav uvenosa b'derech yishara, he leads his sons and his daughters in the proper straight path, V'hamasiyan samuch lepirkan, and he marries them off close to when they're adults. All of HaKasav Omer, about such a person, the pasuk says, V'yadata kishalom alecha, ufakarta navcha v'losechta, you're going to know that your tent is in peace. Those are all good things. And the question over here is, it sounds like it is good to marry off the child while still a minor, but before it said, if a person marries off an adult girl or a girl who's older to a boy that is a minor, that's problematic. And the Gemara answers to this, Samuch lepirkan shani. When we say Samuch lepirkan, near adulthood, that's different. That is actually fine. Rashi explains, V'hamechabda b'tachshitin noin. Mechabda means to respect her with nice adornments. Samuch lepirkan, and then he's marrying them off near when they're adults, adayin katanim him, but they're still minors. And the Gemara ultimately answered, Samach lepirkan shani, if it's near the time that he's an adult, it's different. The lav hainu katan kuli hai, that's not such a minor. The misham shana or chatzi shana lo sizna olav, just because it's going to take a year or half a year till the child becomes an adult, that's not a reason why she's going to commit adultery, and therefore that is not a problem. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Ha'oev es shechenav, one who loves his neighbors, V'hamekarev es krovav, and one who brings his relatives close, V'hanose es bas achos, somebody who marries the daughter of his sister, his niece, V'hamalva sela lioni, b'shas dochov, somebody lends a sela to a poor person when he needs that money, all of Akasav Omer, about such a person, the Pasuk says, Az tikra v'Hashem yana, you're going to call out and Hashem will answer. And Rashi explains, Tikra v'Hashem yana, le'el minei ksiv. Earlier in that pasuk it says, Haloparus l'rov lachmecha. It talks about giving to those who are hungry your bread. Umi b'sorcha al tesalim. You shouldn't hide yourself from your flesh. You should help those in need. Hainu nosei bas achoso. That is referring to marrying the daughter of his sister. That's b'sorcha. You shouldn't hide. Umekarev es krovav. That's the idea of bringing your relatives close. V'yoev es shchenav nami kemekarev es krovav. And also loving one's neighbors is like bringing relatives close. T'chsiv tov shach and karav me'ach rachok. Like it says, it's good, a close neighbor, even more than a distant brother. Umalva sela la'ani b'shas dochu, and also let's say a person lends money to the poor when he needs money. Bechlal paros l'raiv lachmecha, that talks about giving your bread out to those who need. V'chisira arim, and seeing somebody again who needs clothing. And so the idea again is about such a person, Hashem answers such a person. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Oso v'yasen, it says in the pasuk, him and them. And we'll take a look at the full pasuk. The full pasuk says, "V'ish asher yikach es isha v'yasima." A person takes a woman and her mother. Zima, he that's considered zima. Ba'esh yisrafu, and the punishment is sreifa. Oso v'yashen. It's a sreifa for him and for them. Velosia zima besochachem. There shouldn't be zima among you. And the question over here is going to be, what exactly does eshen refer to? What does them refer to? And we learned earlier already that certainly the pasuk is referencing mother-in-law. The question is the pasuk also referencing the mother of the mother-in-law? As we will now see, this is going to be a machlokas tanoim in the Brisa. Again, it says oso v'yasen, oso v'yas achas mehen. It means him and one of them. Divrei Rabbi Yishmael, these are the words of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva says oso, it means him, v'yas shtehen, and both of them. And the Gemara continues, my beinai, what exactly is the difference between Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva? What are they arguing about? Amar Abaya says, mashmos dorshim ika beinai. The whole machlokas between them is just how to understand the pasuk, but there's no actual machlokas in terms of halacha. Rabbi Yishmael holds oso v'yashen, means to say oso him, he's going to be punished with sreifa, v'yas achas mehen, and then one of them also gets sreifa. We'll see Rashi in a moment. Shekein b'lashon Yavani korin la'achas heina, because in Greek, achas is referred to using the word heina, and therefore eshen means just one of them. V'eim chamoso midrasha asya. And according to this approach, when it comes to the mother of his mother-in-law, the point is that's not in the pasuk, it's learned from a drasha. The halacha is the same, it's just not learned from the pasuk. That's the idea of mashmos dor shemika beinayu. They're only arguing how to understand the pasuk, but no practical argument. Rabbi Akiva holds oso v'yashen. What does it mean, oso v'yashen? Oso v'yas shtehen. It actually means both of them get the punishment of sreifa, meaning ve'eim chamos, so not only his mother-in-law, but the mother of his mother-in-law, hacha ksiva, is written over here in this pasuk. And Rashi explains, eshen, mashma leilu Rabbi Yishmael, es ha'achas mehen. Again, according to Rabbi Yishmael, the word eshen means one of the two women. Because again, it says in the pasuk that the man, v'isha asher yikach, the man took Isha and her mother. He took a woman and her mother, and it means both of them, and it means one of them, according to Rabbi Yishmael. Shekein b'lashon Yavani korin la'achas heina, because again, that's how in Greek you refer to one with the word heina. V'hachi kamar kran. So the pasuk means like this. V'isha asher yikach es isha zu ishto. The person takes a woman, and that refers to his wife. Now the point over here is you're certainly not going to have the death penalty for his wife. His wife did nothing wrong. V'hader es ima. But then he goes ahead, the man, and he's with his wife's mother. He's with his mother-in-law. So he's going to get the punishment of sreifa, and his mother-in-law will get the punishment of sreifa. They did something wrong. The wife did nothing wrong. That's how Rabbi Yishmael understands the pasuk. Again, this is all within Abaya's explanation of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva says, oso v'yas shteyen. It means him and both of them. Mefarish lehashas v'yazal, as the Gemara will now explain, but my kamiflagi, what exactly they're arguing about. Havadei lisrof es ishto lo kam Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is certainly not saying that his wife gets the death penalty of burning. She did nothing wrong. That was a regular marriage. So if there's two women getting the death penalty, it must be referring to two women other than his wife. And so, as the Gemara explained, mashmos darshan lashon mashmos hamikra darshan. Again, it's just a machlokas how to understand the pasuk. There's no practical machlokas according to Abaya. Rabbi Yishmael eshen chadahu. Ichdahu, Vachamoso Koi. According to Rabbi Shmuel, it just means one of them, the mother-in-law. Ve'im Chamoso Midrasha, and the mother of the mother-in-law, that's true that's prohibited, but that's from a drasha. The Zima Asya, that comes from the drasha of the word Zima, Kedamar Le'el, like we said earlier, Minayin Lasos Lamata Kilamala, that was a drasha earlier. Rabbi Akiva, Esen Tarti Mashman, according to Rabbi Akiva, the word Esen refers to both of them, meaning Chamoso Ve'im Chamoso. Of course, it doesn't refer to his wife, but it would refer to his mother-in-law and the mother of his mother-in-law. V'achi Kamran, it means as follows, Yisrafu Oso V'Esen, again, they're both going to get the punishment of Sreifa, death penalty by burning. Hein Shteya Aimahos Kagon, Laka Chasisha, Ves Ima Ve'emima. The case again would be where he married a woman and then he was together with her mother and the mother of her mother, meaning he was together with his mother-in-law and the mother of his mother-in-law. And so again, according to Rabbi Akiva's interpretation of the pasuk is referring to both of those women. And the Gemara continues, Rava Amar Rava says, Chamoso lachar misa ika beinayu. Actually, Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva are arguing practically about a person who's with his mother-in-law after his wife dies. That's actually the machlokas. Rabbi Shmuel savar chamoso lachar misa b'sreifa. Rabbi Shmuel says his mother-in-law after the wife dies, it is a punishment of sreifa. Rabbi Akiva savar isur b'alma, but Rabbi Akiva holds it is just a mere prohibition, but there is no death penalty. And Rashi explains, Rava Amar chamoso shabo alech asana lachar misas bito ika beinayu. Rava says, talking about a mother-in-law where the son-in-law had relations with her after the daughter died. Aval eim chamoso letarvayu midrasha asi. According to this approach, they both agree the mother of his mother-in-law is learned from a drasha. Rabbi Shmuel savar chamoso lachar misa b'sreifa k'mechayim. Rabbi Shmuel says mother-in-law after the wife dies is exactly the same as when the wife was alive. Tahachi kamar kra afilo ein miskayem es ala achas mehen. Rabbi Shmuel saying even if only one of them is alive, tisaref, still that other one should get the punishment of sreifa. Tahavadai ishta lo kamar kra de tisaref. Again, certainly the wife is not getting the death penalty of burning. It has to be the mother-in-law. Rabbi Akiva savar. Rabbi Akiva says esen shtehen mashma. The word esen means both of them. V'achi kamar, so it means as follows: Im ishto kayemes. If his wife is alive, tisaref chamoso, then the mother-in-law gets the punishment of sreifa. V'im lav ein kan onish sreifa, and if not, there is no punishment of sreifa. Elo iser ora shochev im chosanto. That's just going to be the prohibition of the pasuk of ora shochev im chosanto. Cursed is the one who is with his mother-in-law. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah: Ve'elu haneherag, and the following are those who are beheaded, death by the sword. Harotzeach, a murderer, va'anshe ir hanidachas, the people of an ir hanidachas. Again, that's a city that they worshipped avodah zarah. Rotzeach shehiko esreyeu be'even o bebarzel. When we talk about a murderer, it could be a murderer who strikes his friend with a stone or with metal, with iron. V'chavash olav l'sochamayim, or it could be that he held him underwater and he killed him in that fashion. O l'socha, or he held him in a fire. He could not escape the fire because he was holding him there. Ve'eno yachol lalos misham, he couldn't come up from there. He couldn't come up from the water or the fire. V'meis, and he died. Chayiv, in that situation, again, he will be liable. Dachafu l'sochamayim, let's say he pushed the person into the water, or l'socha, or into the fire. V'yachol lalos misham, and he could have gotten out, but he didn't. V'meis, and he died. Potter than the person who pushed him in is going to be exempt. Shisa bo es hakelev, shisa bo es hanachash. Let's say he incites a dog, or he incites a snake against the person. Potter, so in that case he is exempt. But hishich bo es hanachash. Let's say he actually grabs the snake and actually touches the snake's teeth to the person, and in that fashion he kills the person. So that's a machlokas tanoim. Rabbi Yehuda mechayev, v'chachamim pocher. Rabbi Yehuda says chayev, but the chachamim say potter. Rabbi Yehuda says he's liable. The chachamim say he is exempt. And the Gemara says, Amar Shmuel, Shmuel says, Malo nemra yad bebarzel. Why is it that it doesn't say the word yad, the word hand, when it talks about using metal to kill someone? Rashi here explains, Lo nemar yad bebarzel, kamashenemar be'even yad, bechli eitz yad. It says a stone that he has in his hand, or he has a piece of wood in his hand. Mashma sheyesh b'molei achiza. So when we're talking about stone or wood, it sounds like there's at least a minimum size. It has to be something you could grab, de'bo'inan shiura. There's some minimum shear. Aval bebarzel ksivim bechli barzel hiko. But by barzel, when it's talking about metal, so there it just says kli barzel. It doesn't say hand. It doesn't sound like there's a minimum size. And so again, the question is, malo nemra yad bebarzel. Why does it say the word hand by barzel? Shah barzel meimis becholshu, because when you strike someone with metal, even the smallest amount can kill someone, and that's why there is no minimum size. And the Gemara continues, Tanya Nami Hachi, we have a brisa like this as well. Rebbe Omer, Rebbe says, Goli v'yadu lefnei mi shamar v'haya ha'olam. It was known before the one who spoke and created the world. It was known before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sha'abarzel meimis b'cholshu. When it comes to iron, when it comes to metal, that can kill even the smallest amount. Lefikach l'nit na Torah boshir. That's why the Torah has no minimum amount. V'hani mili debir ze mivrazin. The Gemara says that's true if you stab the person with the metal, if you would strike the person, let's say on the side, just strike with metal, so then there actually would be a minimum shear, but by stabbing, even the smallest amount can kill someone. And the Gemara continues that the two dots of Chavasholav Lasoch Hamayim, let's say the person, he holds the other person underwater so that the person drowns to death. And the Gemara says, Reisha Ribusa Kamash Molon, V'Seifa Ribusa Kamash Molon. The beginning of the Mishnah is teaching us a Chiddush, and the end of the Mishnah is teaching us a Chiddush. And the Gemara explains, Reisha Ribusa Kamash Molon, the beginning is teaching us a Chiddush. Afagav Delav Iu Dachfo, even though he didn't push him in the water, Kevan Den Yachal Lalos Misham V'Meis, since he caused that he couldn't get out of the water and the person died, so Chayev, that's why he's liable. And Sefer Ribusa Kamash Molan, in the end of the Mishnah, is also teaching us a Chiddush. Afagav the Dochvo, even though he pushed him into the water, Kevan the Yachal Lalos Misham, since he was able to get out, V'Meis, and then he died, Potter, so the person is Potter. And the Gemara continues, Kavash Minolan, if a person, he holds him in that situation, holds him in the water that he can't get out, where's the source that you're Chayev for murder in that case? Amar Shmuel says, Diamar Krutz, because the Pasuk says, O Be'eva, it says, or with hatred, and L'Rabos Esam Etzamsem, that comes to include somebody who confines someone into a small place. That's what that pasuk is coming to include. And the Gemara continues, there was a person who confined the animal of his friend in the sun, that the animal cannot escape the sun, and then the animal died. And so here you have a situation of nezik, of damage. It's not a situation of murder. Question is he liable in that case? Ravina said in that case the person is liable. Ravacha Barav Potter, but Ravacha Barav said that the person is Potter, he's exempt. And the Gemara explains, Ravina Mechayev, Ravina says that the person is Chayev Kal V'chomer, because we can make the following Kal V'chomer, Umarot Seyach Shelo Asa Bo Shogeg Kamezid, if by a murderer, where by murder we don't treat a Shogeg mistake the same as Mazid, the same as on purpose, V'ones Karotzen, we don't treat Ones, accident, the same way as if a person did it willingly, but Chayev Bo Asa Mitzamsem, but yet, even though that's the case by a murderer, but Mitzamsem, if you confine the person and cause him to die, then we do say that the person is liable. And Rashi explains O l'rabos esam etzamsem, when it said O be'eva, it comes from the word O, that extra word in the pasuk includes one who confines. Hainu kovish, it's the same as somebody who holds somebody underwater. Shem etzamsem osham shelo yakum. Again, he's confining him in that space that he's not able to get up. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Zayin Amud Aleph.